G'day everyone, it's Andrew Whitehouse here, and this week we're looking at the really interesting topic of behavioural change over time. Now, of course, we know there's a lot of variability between different individuals on the autism spectrum, but of course there's also variability within one individual on the autism spectrum, just over time. Now, what we don't really have a very good handle on is how this happens and for whom. So the study we've linked to this week was a really interesting study of 125 kids on the autism spectrum, and they studied the kids at age 3 and then at age 6. And what they looked at was what were the change in those core autistic behaviours over time. And of course, the core autistic behaviours are social and communication difficulties and restricted and repetitive behaviours. Now, what they found was that there was about 30% of kids on the spectrum in which they had less severe behaviour over time, autistic symptoms over time. There was about 55% of kids where the level of autistic symptoms was pretty much the same over time. And then there was 15% of kids on the spectrum where their autistic symptoms increased in severity over time. Now, this was really interesting, and what they did then is looked at, was there anything at age 3 that predicted which way a child would develop in their level of autistic symptoms? And really there wasn't much that came out. One of the main things that came out was that girls were actually slightly more likely to decrease in the severity of autistic symptoms over time. So that is, they would have less autistic symptoms over time compared to boys. But again, I'd like to see more research into that before we actually start to say that that's a fact. So it's a really interesting study. The one thing I did want to highlight is that we're talking about core autistic symptoms here. We're not talking about other things such as language and cognitive abilities, which we know improve in almost all kids over time with great early intervention. So it's a really interesting study, and we'll be sure to keep you up to date with this area of research.